Westfield, New Jersey. A quiet suburban town where maple trees line the streets, kids ride bikes until sunset, and neighbors still wave at each other from their porches. This is where Mark and Jennifer Sullivan built what everyone thought was the perfect life. Mark was a civil engineer, 42 years old, dedicated father, the kind of man who coached his son's soccer team on weekends and never missed a school recital. Jennifer was 39, a part-time real estate agent with a smile that could light up a room. Together, they had 2 beautiful children, Jake, 10 years old, and Emma, 8. The Sullivans lived in a 2-story colonial home on Elm Street, with a white picket fence and a golden retriever named Bailey. From the outside, everything looked flawless. But inside that house, cracks were forming. Cracks that would soon shatter everything Mark believed about his family. It was a Tuesday evening in March when Mark's world collapsed. He had come home early from a construction site inspection, hoping to surprise Jennifer with takeout from her favorite Italian restaurant. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Jennifer's car was in the driveway, but she wasn't in the kitchen or living room. Mark walked upstairs. The bedroom door was slightly open. He could hear Jennifer's voice, low and intimate, speaking on the phone. He pushed the door open. Jennifer was sitting on the bed, her back to him, phone pressed against her ear. She was laughing. Not the polite laugh she gave at dinner parties. This was different. Softer. More personal. Mark froze. "I can't wait to see you this weekend," Jennifer whispered into the phone. "He'll be at that conference in Boston. We'll have the whole night." Mark felt his chest tighten. His hands went cold. "Jennifer." His voice came out sharper than he intended. She spun around, eyes wide, face going pale. She ended the call immediately. "Mark, you're home early. I thought you— Who was that?" Silence. "Jennifer, who were you talking to?" She stood up, smoothing her hair, trying to compose herself. It was nobody. Just a friend from my book club." Mark stared at her. 12 years of marriage. He knew when she was lying. "Give me your phone." "What? No, Mark, you're being ridiculous." "Give me your phone." The fight that followed was ugly. Screaming. Accusations. Jennifer finally admitted it. His name was Derek, a client she had met 6 months ago. It had started innocently, she said. Coffee after showing him a property. Then dinners. Then hotel rooms. Mark asked her to leave that night. She refused. It was her house too, she said. She had rights. The next morning, Mark called a divorce attorney. Jennifer's face changed when he told her. The guilt, the tears, the apologies, all of it vanished. Her eyes turned cold. "You're really going to do this?" she asked quietly. "Yes." She leaned in close, her voice barely a whisper. "Then I'll make sure you regret it. You'll lose everything, Mark. Everything." He didn't understand what she meant. Not yet. Within a week, Jennifer had hired one of the most aggressive divorce attorneys in New Jersey. The papers were filed, the battle lines were drawn. And Mark? He thought the worst was over. He had no idea that the real nightmare was just beginning. Because Jennifer Sullivan wasn't just angry, she was strategic, she was patient, and she knew exactly how to hurt him in the way that would destroy him completely. She was going to take his children away. Not physically, but emotionally, mentally. She was going to make Jake and Emma hate him, and she was going to do it so carefully, so methodically, that no one would even notice what was happening. The war had started, and Mark didn't even know he was already losing. The divorce was finalized in October. 6 months of legal warfare, arguments over assets, retirement accounts, the house. In the end, they split everything down the middle. Jennifer kept the house. Mark moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment across town. The custody arrangement seemed fair on paper. Shared custody, 50-50. Mark would have the kids every other week, alternating holidays. The judge praised both parents for being cooperative. But the moment the ink dried on those papers, Jennifer's real plan began. It started small, so small that Mark almost didn't notice. The first weekend Mark was supposed to pick up Jake and Emma, Jennifer texted him 30 minutes before, "Jake has a stomachache. Maybe next time." Mark drove to the house anyway. Jake answered the door, looking perfectly fine. "Hey, buddy, you feeling okay? Your mom said you weren't feeling well." Jake looked confused for a second, then glanced back toward the kitchen where Jennifer was watching. "Oh, yeah, my stomach hurts." But Jake was smiling, playing with his soccer ball. He looked completely healthy. Mark took them anyway. They had a great weekend. Movies, pizza, the trampoline park. Everything felt normal. But the next time Mark came to pick them up, Emma didn't want to come. "I have homework," she said quietly, not meeting his eyes. "You can do homework at my place, sweetheart. I'll help you." "No, I want to stay here." Jennifer appeared behind her, hand on Emma's shoulder. "If she doesn't want to come, Mark, I'm not going to force her. The therapist said we shouldn't pressure the kids." "Therapist? What therapist?" Jennifer had enrolled both children in therapy without telling him. She claimed it was to help them cope with the divorce. The therapist's name was Dr. Laura Hendricks. Mark tried to contact her, but Dr. Hendricks said she couldn't discuss the children without Jennifer's consent. And Jennifer refused. The cancellations became more frequent. Jake had a birthday party. Emma had a school project. There was always something, and when the kids did come to Mark's apartment, something had changed. They were distant, quiet. They used to run to him, laughing, fighting over who got to sit next to him at dinner. Now they sat stiffly on the couch, scrolling through tablets Jennifer had given them. When Mark tried to talk to them, their answers were short. "How was school?" "Fine." "Want to go get ice cream?" "Not really." Mark tried everything. He took them to their favorite restaurants, bought them new video games, asked about their friends, their teachers, their hobbies. Nothing worked. One night, while tucking Emma into bed at his apartment, Mark sat on the edge of her mattress and gently brushed the hair from her face. "Emma, sweetheart, do you still love Daddy?" She looked at him with those big brown eyes, eyes that used to light up when he came home from work. "Mom says you're the reason we don't live together anymore." Mark's heart sank. "Sweetie, that's not... Mom says you ruined everything. She cries every night because of you." Mark felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. "Emma, that's not true. Mommy and Daddy both decided that... You left us." Her voice was small, but the words were sharp. "You didn't want to be with us anymore." "That's not true!" Mark's voice cracked. "I love you more than anything in the world. I would never leave you." Emma turned away from him, facing the wall. "That's not what Mum said." Mark sat there in the dark, staring at his daughter's back, feeling utterly helpless. Jennifer was rewriting history, and the kids were believing her. Over the next few months, things got worse. Jake stopped calling him Dad and started calling him Mark. Emma refused to hug him goodbye. They complained about his apartment, his cooking, his rules. They asked to go home early. Every single visit. Mark tried talking to Jennifer. She acted innocent. "I don't know what you're talking about, Mark. I've never said anything bad about you to the kids. Maybe they're just upset about the divorce. Kids process things differently." But Mark knew better. He could see it in the way the children repeated exact phrases. Word for word. "You abandoned us. You only care about yourself. You destroyed our family." These weren't a 10-year-old's words. These were Jennifer's words, coming out of Jake's mouth. Mark went back to his attorney. He explained what was happening. The attorney nodded sympathetically and said, "Unfortunately, parental alienation is very hard to prove. Unless you have concrete evidence that she's coaching them, The court won't intervene. Evidence. He needed evidence. But how do you prove something that happens behind closed doors? Mark was drowning. His job performance suffered. He started missing deadlines at work. His boss pulled him aside, concerned. Mark couldn't explain. How do you tell someone that your own children are being taught to hate you? He started seeing a therapist himself, Dr. Ramon Garcia, a kind man in his 60s who specialized in family trauma. What you're experiencing is called parental alienation, Dr. Garcia explained during one session. It's a form of emotional abuse where one parent manipulates the children to reject the other parent. It's psychological warfare. How do I stop it? Dr. Garcia leaned back in his chair. You document everything, every cancelled visit, every hostile comment, every sign that she's coaching them, and you pray that eventually the truth comes out. Mark left that session feeling more hopeless than ever. He was losing his children, and there was nothing he could do about it. Or so he thought. Because 3 months later, on a rainy afternoon in April, Mark's phone buzzed with a notification. A voice message from Emma's number. He opened it, expecting another cancellation. Another excuse. But what he heard made his blood run cold. And it changed everything. What would you do if you were in Mark's position right now? Would you keep fighting, or would you walk away to protect yourself? Let me know in the comments below. Mark pressed play on the voice message. At first, there was just static. Muffled sounds, like the phone was in someone's pocket or bag. Then he heard voices. Clear as day. Jennifer's voice. Okay, listen to me. When Dr. Hendricks asks you about your dad tomorrow, I need you to tell her exactly what we practiced. Can you do that for Mommy? Emma's small voice responded. I don't want to lie. You're not lying, sweetheart. You're telling her how you feel. And how do you feel when you're at your dad's apartment? Silence. Emma, how do you feel? Uncomfortable. That's right. You feel uncomfortable. Why do you feel uncomfortable? Because he yells at us? Does he yell at you, Emma? No. Emma! Jennifer's voice became firmer. Think about last week when he told you to turn off the iPad. He raised his voice, didn't he? I guess. So he yelled. He made you feel scared, right? Another pause. Right, Emma. Right. Good girl. Now, what else are you going to tell Dr. Hendricks? The recording cut off. Mark sat frozen in his car, phone trembling in his hand. He played it again, and again, and again. This was it. This was the evidence. Jennifer was coaching Emma, word by word, planting false memories, teaching her to lie to the court-appointed psychologist. Mark immediately forwarded the recording to his attorney, Richard Feldman. Within hours, Feldman called him back. Mark, this is exactly what we needed. I'm filing an emergency motion to modify custody. We're going to request a full forensic evaluation and present this recording to the judge. Jennifer won't know what hit her. For the first time in months, Mark felt hope. But Jennifer wasn't done. Not even close. 2 days after Mark received that recording, Jake came home from school and found police officers at the apartment complex. Jennifer had called 911, claiming Mark had threatened her over text message. She provided screenshots of messages that Mark swore he never sent. Aggressive messages, threatening messages. The police investigated. Mark showed them his phone. The metadata didn't match. The messages had been fabricated, likely using a text spoofing app. The officers apologized and left without pressing charges. But the damage was done. Jennifer filed a restraining order request, claiming she feared for her safety. The request was denied, but it created a record. A paper trail that made Mark look unstable. His reputation in Westfield was crumbling. Parents at Jake's soccer games whispered when he showed up. The school secretary gave him cold stares when he came to pick up the kids. Jennifer had been busy, spreading rumors, telling friends, neighbors, anyone who would listen, that Mark was volatile, dangerous, a man who couldn't accept that his marriage was over. Mark's boss called him into the office. Mark, I need to talk to you about your performance. You've missed 3 client meetings this month. The Henderson project is 2 weeks behind schedule. What's going on? Mark tried to explain. But how do you tell your employer that you're falling apart because your ex-wife is systematically destroying your relationship with your children? I need you to take some time off, his boss said quietly. Get your personal life sorted out. We'll talk when you're ready to come back. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a suspension. Mark walked out of that office in a daze. He sat in his car in the parking lot for an hour, staring at nothing. He had lost so much. His marriage, his home, his reputation, his job, and worst of all, his children. That night, Mark stood in his empty apartment and considered giving up, not just on the custody fight, on everything. He looked at the bottle of sleeping pills in his medicine cabinet, counted them, wondered if it would be easier to just stop. His phone rang. Dr. Garcia, their weekly check-in. Mark, you there? Mark's voice was hollow. Yeah. How are you holding up? I'm not. There was a long pause. Dr. Garcia spoke carefully. Mark, I need you to be honest with me. Are you having thoughts of hurting yourself? Mark looked at the pills again. Mark? Yes. I need you to listen to me very carefully. What you're feeling right now is not permanent. This situation is not permanent. You are not alone. I'm going to stay on the phone with you, and we're going to talk through this together. Can you do that for me? Mark sank to the floor, back against the wall, and for the first time in months, he cried. Really cried. The kind of crying that comes from a place so deep and broken that you didn't even know it existed. Dr. Garcia stayed on the phone with him for 2 hours, talking him through the darkness, reminding him why he had to keep fighting. Your children need you, Mark, even if they don't know it right now, even if they've been taught to push you away. They need you to be here. They need you to fight for them. Can you do that? Mark wiped his eyes. His voice was shaky, but there was something new in it, something that had been missing for months. Resolve. Yes, I can do that. Good. Now I want you to promise me something. If you ever feel this way again, you call me immediately. Day or night. Promise? I promise. Mark hung up the phone and sat in the silence of his apartment. He thought about Jake and Emma, about the life they used to have, about the father he used to be. He wasn't that man anymore. Jennifer had made sure of that. But maybe, just maybe, he could become someone stronger, someone who wouldn't break, someone who would fight until the very end. He picked up his phone and texted his attorney. File the motion. I have the recording. Let's end this. 3 weeks later, Mark received a court date. The hearing was scheduled for June 15th. Judge Margaret Carr presiding. Mark prepared. He gathered every piece of evidence, every cancelled visit, every hostile text from Jennifer, every witness who could testify to the change in his children's behavior, and most importantly, that recording. The night before the hearing, Mark couldn't sleep. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the last year in his mind. Tomorrow everything would change, one way or another. Either he would get his children back, or he would lose them forever. Thank you so much for sticking with this story. I know it's heavy. I know it's heartbreaking. But trust me, the most powerful moments are still coming. Stay with me. The Morris County Family Courthouse was a gray, imposing building in Morristown, New Jersey. Mark arrived 30 minutes early, dressed in his only suit, hands trembling as he walked through the metal detectors. His attorney, Richard Feldman, met him in the hallway. Feldman was in his 50s, with silver hair and sharp eyes. He'd been practicing family law for 26 years and had seen cases like this before. Remember, Feldman said quietly, stay calm. Answer the judge's questions directly. Don't let Jennifer get under your skin. We have the evidence. We have the truth. That's all we need. Mark nodded, but his stomach was in knots. They entered courtroom 3B. Jennifer was already seated with her attorney, a woman named Vanessa Chen, known for being ruthless in custody disputes. Jennifer looked polished, professional. She wore a navy dress, pearls, her hair pulled back neatly. She looked like the perfect mother. When she saw Mark, she didn't react. Just a cold, blank stare. Judge Margaret Carr entered the courtroom. She was in her early 60s, African-American, with a reputation for being fair but unforgiving when it came to parental misconduct. All rise. Everyone stood. Please be seated. We're here today for an emergency motion to modify custody in the matter of Sullivan versus Sullivan. Mr. Feldman, you filed this motion. You may proceed. Feldman stood. Thank you, Your Honor. We are here today because my client, Mark Sullivan, has been the victim of systematic parental alienation. For over a year, his ex-wife, Jennifer Sullivan, has engaged in a deliberate campaign to turn their 2 minor children against him. She has coached them to lie to court-appointed professionals, fabricated evidence, and violated the spirit of the custody agreement repeatedly. Vanessa Chen stood immediately. Objection, Your Honor. These are serious accusations with no basis in fact. Ms. Sullivan has done nothing but prioritize her children's well-being during a difficult transition. Judge Carr held up a hand. I'll hear the evidence. Mr. Feldman, what do you have? Your Honor, I'd like to play an audio recording that was inadvertently sent to my client by his daughter, Emma, 3 months ago. Feldman approached the bench with his laptop. He connected it to the courtroom's sound system. The room fell silent. And then, Jennifer's voice filled the courtroom. Okay, listen to me. When Dr. Hendricks asks you about your dad tomorrow, I need you to tell her exactly what we practiced. Can you do that for Mommy? Emma's voice. I don't want to lie. You're not lying, sweetheart. You're telling her how you feel. And how do you feel when you're at your dad's apartment? Mark watched Jennifer's face. She had gone pale. Her attorney leaned over, whispering urgently in her ear. The recording continued. The entire courtroom heard Jennifer coaching Emma, planting false memories, teaching her to manipulate the psychologist. When it ended, the silence was deafening. Judge Carr's expression had changed. The polite neutrality was gone. Now there was something else. Anger. Mrs. Sullivan, did you coach your daughter to lie to Dr. Hendricks? Jennifer's attorney stood. Your Honor, this recording is taken out of context. My client was simply, I asked Ms. Sullivan. Judge Carr's voice was sharp. Ms. Sullivan, answer the question. Jennifer stood slowly. Her hands were shaking. Your Honor, I was trying to help Emma process her feelings. The divorce has been hard on her, and I thought if she could articulate. Did you or did you not instruct your daughter to tell Dr. Hendricks that her father yelled at her, when, in fact, he did not? Jennifer's mouth opened. Closed. She looked at her attorney, desperate. Answer the question, Mrs. Sullivan. I may have suggested that she think about times when she felt uncomfortable, but I never told her to. You told her to say he yelled. The recording is clear. You coached her. Do you understand that what you did is considered parental alienation and is a form of child abuse under New Jersey law? The word hung in the air. Abuse. Jennifer's face crumpled. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I was just trying to protect my children from what? From their father, who has no history of violence, no criminal record, and by all accounts was a devoted parent before your divorce? Jennifer said nothing. Judge Carr turned to Feldman. What else do you have? Your Honor, we have documented evidence of over 30 cancelled or shortened visitations in the past year. We have testimony from Mark's therapist, Dr. Ramon Garcia, regarding the emotional toll this has taken on him. We have statements from teachers and neighbors who have witnessed the children's behavioral changes. And we have text messages and emails showing Ms. Sullivan's pattern of undermining Mr. Sullivan's relationship with the children. Feldman presented each piece of evidence methodically. Phone records, emails, witness statements. Then came the most powerful moment. Your Honor, I'd like to request that the children be brought in for a private interview with you in chambers. I believe if they are questioned outside the influence of their mother, the truth will become clear. Judge Carr nodded. I was about to suggest the same thing. Bailiff, please bring in Jake and Emma Sullivan. Mark's heart stopped. He hadn't seen his children in 2 weeks. They had refused the last 3 scheduled visits. The courtroom doors opened. Jake walked in first, wearing a hoodie and jeans, eyes downcast. Emma followed, holding a stuffed rabbit, looking tiny and scared. When Emma saw Mark, something flickered across her face. Not hatred, not anger, something else. Guilt. Judge Carr spoke gently. Jake, Emma, I'm Judge Carr. I'd like to talk to both of you in my office for a few minutes. Just you and me. Is that okay? They nodded. The judge stood. Everyone will remain here. I'll return shortly. She led the children through a door behind the bench. Mark watched them disappear, his chest tight. 20 minutes passed. It felt like hours. When Judge Carr returned, her expression was grim. Jake and Emma did not come back with her. The bailiff escorted them to a waiting room. The judge sat down heavily. I have been a family court judge for 18 years. I have seen a lot of terrible things. But what I just heard in that room... She paused, collecting herself. Ms. Sullivan, those children just told me, without any prompting, that you have been telling them their father is a bad person, that he doesn't love them, that he chose to leave them. They told me you cry in front of them and blame their father for your tears. They told me you ask them every night to promise they won't ever live with him. Jennifer's attorney tried to speak. Your Honor. Judge Carr cut her off. I'm not finished. Emma told me, and I quote, Mommy said if I told anyone she was teaching me what to say, they'd take us away from her forever. That child is 8 years old. She has been living in fear because of your manipulation. Jennifer was crying now. Quiet, desperate tears. Your Honor, I love my children. I would never... You weaponized them. You turned them into soldiers in your war against your ex-husband. That is abuse, Ms. Sullivan, and I will not allow it to continue. Judge Carr looked down at the papers in front of her. When she spoke again, her voice was like steel. Effective immediately, I am modifying the custody arrangement. The courtroom was silent. Mark held his breath. Judge Carr continued. Mark Sullivan is hereby granted primary physical custody of both children. Jennifer Sullivan will have supervised visitation only, twice per week, 2 hours per session, to be supervised by a court-approved professional at Ms. Sullivan's expense. Jennifer gasped. No, please, Your Honor, you can't. I can and I have. Furthermore, Ms. Sullivan, you are ordered to attend a parental alienation intervention program and weekly therapy sessions with a licensed family therapist. You will also be required to attend reunification therapy with Mr. Sullivan and the children. Judge Carr's gaze was unflinching. You are fined $10,000 for contempt of court and interference with custody. That fine is payable to the court within 30 days. If you violate any term of this order, I will hold you in contempt again, and next time, Mrs. Sullivan, you will face jail time. Do you understand? Jennifer's attorney stood. Your Honor, we request time to... The courtroom was silent. Mark held his breath. Judge Carr continued. Mark Sullivan is hereby granted primary physical custody of both children. Jennifer Sullivan will have supervised visitation only, twice per week, 2 hours per session, to be supervised by a court-approved professional at Ms. Sullivan's expense. Jennifer gasped. No, please, Your Honor, you can't. I can, and I have. Furthermore, Mrs. Sullivan, you are ordered to attend a parental alienation intervention program and weekly therapy sessions with a licensed family therapist. You will also be required to attend reunification therapy with Mr. Sullivan and the children. Judge Carr's gaze was unflinching. You are fined $10,000 for contempt of court and interference with custody. That fine is payable to the court within 30 days. If you violate any term of this order, I will hold you in contempt again. And next time, Ms. Sullivan, you will face jail time. Do you understand? Jennifer's attorney stood. Your Honor, we request time to— There is no negotiation here. Ms. Sullivan has demonstrated a pattern of behavior that is harmful to these children. This court's primary concern is the best interest of Jake and Emma, not the feelings of either parent. Mr. Sullivan has shown nothing but a desire to maintain a healthy relationship with his children. Miss Sullivan has shown the opposite. Jennifer was sobbing now, her face in her hands. Vanessa Chen put a hand on her shoulder, but even the attorney looked defeated. This hearing is adjourned. Mr. Sullivan, the children will be released to your custody immediately. Bailiff, please escort Miss Sullivan out of the courtroom. Judge Carr stood. All rise. Mark couldn't move. His legs felt like jelly. His attorney grabbed his arm, steadying him. You did it, Feldman whispered. You won. Mark barely heard him. All he could think about was seeing his children. The bailiff brought Jake and Emma back into the courtroom. They looked confused, scared. They had heard the judge's decision but didn't fully understand what it meant. Mark walked over slowly. He knelt down in front of them so he was at eye level. Hey, guys? Jake looked away. Emma clutched her rabbit tighter. I know this is confusing. I know you don't understand everything that just happened, but I want you to know something. Mark's voice cracked. I love you. I have always loved you. And I'm sorry for everything you've been through. None of this was your fault, okay? Emma's lip trembled. Are we in trouble? No, sweetheart. You're not in trouble. You're never in trouble. Jake finally looked at him. Are we going to live with you now? Mark nodded. Yeah, buddy, you are. What about Mom? Mom is going to get some help, and you'll still see her, but you're going to stay with me for a while. Is that okay? For a long moment, neither of them said anything. Then, slowly, Emma stepped forward. She wrapped her small arms around Mark's neck, and Mark broke. He pulled both children close, holding them like he had wanted to hold them for the past year. He felt Emma's tears soaking into his shirt. He felt Jake's body shaking with sobs. I'm sorry, Dad, Jake whispered. I'm sorry I said those things. It's okay, it's okay. I'm just so happy you're here. They stayed like that for a long time, right there in the courtroom. No one interrupted them. Even the bailiff looked away, giving them space. When they finally pulled apart, Mark wiped the tears from Emma's face. You ready to go home? She nodded. Mark took their hands and walked out of that courthouse. The sun was shining outside. It was a beautiful June afternoon. Birds were singing. The world felt lighter somehow. That night, Mark made spaghetti in his small apartment kitchen. Jake and Emma sat at the table, quiet but present. Really present. For the first time in over a year, they ate dinner together. They watched a movie. Mark tucked them into their beds, the same beds that had sat empty for so many nights. Before turning off Emma's light, she looked up at him. Dad? Yeah, sweetheart. I missed you. Mark kissed her forehead. I missed you too, baby, so much. The road ahead wasn't easy. Reunification therapy was hard. There were days when Jake still repeated things Jennifer had said. There were nights when Emma woke up crying, asking if they were going to be taken away from him. But slowly, steadily, things got better. Mark returned to work. His boss welcomed him back, and the Henderson project was completed successfully. The whispers in Westfield faded. The truth came out. People who had judged Mark without knowing the full story reached out, apologizing. Jennifer attended her court-ordered therapy. She saw the kids twice a week under supervision. The visits were awkward at first, strained. But over time, with the help of therapists, Jennifer began to understand the damage she had caused. In one session, about 6 months after the court ruling, Jennifer looked at Jake and Emma and said something she had never said before. "I'm sorry. What I did was wrong. Your dad loves you. He always has. And I should have never tried to make you think otherwise." It wasn't enough, not yet. But it was a start. 2 years later, Mark and the kids are thriving. Jake is 12 now, playing on the middle school basketball team. Emma is 10, taking piano lessons and talking about becoming a veterinarian. They live in a small house Mark bought in a different part of Westfield, a fresh start, away from the memories of Elm Street. Jennifer has completed her therapy programs. The supervised visits have been lifted. She now has the kids every other weekend, unsupervised. She's dating someone new. She's trying to rebuild her life. But the scars remain. Jake still has trust issues. Emma has anxiety. Mark sees a therapist regularly to deal with the trauma of what he went through. But they're together. And that's what matters. Mark Sullivan learned something through all of this. He learned that love, real love, doesn't give up. Even when it's beaten down, manipulated, and poisoned, even when it seems impossible. He fought for his children, and he won. Not because the system worked perfectly, not because justice is always served, but because he refused to stop fighting. He refused to let Jennifer's lies become his children's truth. And now, when Jake and Emma look at him, they don't see the villain Jennifer tried to create. They see their dad, the man who never gave up on them. Mark Sullivan today shares custody with Jennifer, but the children primarily live with him. Jennifer has made progress in therapy and is working to repair the relationships she damaged. The children are healing, though the emotional scars of parental alienation will take years to fully address. Justice was served in that courtroom 2 years ago. But the real victory, it's happening every single day, in every dinner at the kitchen table, in every bedtime story, in every hug goodbye before school. That's the real redemption. If you know someone going through parental alienation, share this story. Let them know they're not alone. Let them know that fighting for your children is always worth it. And tell me in the comments, do you think Jennifer should have lost custody completely? What would you have done in Mark's position? How do you think the system should handle cases like this? If you made it to the end of this story, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. Every week I bring you real stories of family court dramas, betrayals, and the search for J